everyone, it's Carrie here, and thank you so much for joining me for another weekly dose of inspiration to build a successful business. So I have a question for you. Do you ever feel like you struggle with figuring out what your core business message is? Or do you ever feel unclear as to what makes your business stand out, what makes your business special? I think this is something that so many entrepreneurs struggle with, especially with the internet and social media and looking out there and seeing all the wonderful and amazing things other people are doing, all the inspiring things and how incredible their business is. And we end up focusing so much more on what their message is rather than focusing on what our own message is. And when you aren't clear on your own message, you end up feeling stuck and confused and lost, and it's rubbish. So in this episode, we are talking all about this, and we are joined by Rebecca Tracy, who is the founder of The Uncaged Life, and she's going to be sharing her top tips on how to figure out what your core business message is. So thank you so much for joining us, Becca.
Thanks for having me here.
So obviously this is such an important thing. Knowing what your core business message is really at the heart of a business. So why do you think it is that so many people struggle with this, and what mistakes do you see people making when it comes to their core business message?
Yeah, I think what you mentioned is so true, that I think the biggest struggle is that people are told that they need a unique message. And so they're out there looking at what everybody else is doing and trying to fabricate something that's different from what everybody else is doing, which means they're searching for this elusive thing that doesn't really exist, and they're not tapping into what's actually true for them. So they're basing all of their business decisions on what other people are doing and trying to be different than that, which is just a totally backwards way of actually going about finding what is your true message.
So what are the things that people can start to do to figure out what their own core message is?
Yeah, I think that the most important thing, first of all, is realizing why you need a core message. So I always like to picture like a bicycle wheel. So right at the center of that wheel at the hub is where your message lives. And that's like the foundation of your business. And then stemming out from that hub are all of the spokes of that bicycle wheel. And those are all of the different ways that you can bring this message out in your business. So those are potentially different packages and services and ways that you portray this message in the world. So understanding why you need that core is step one, because if you don't know why you need it, you're going to be searching around and flailing and trying to find something, and you won't even know why you're doing it. So that's the first thing. In order to get there, there's a few questions that I like to start with. One of them is, if you were up on stage and had 30 seconds to tell a packed room why they needed your services, what would you say? So you've got 30 seconds to convince them that they need this. So you're not going to be talking about, the nitty-gritty sort of boring details of what you do. You're going to want to be speaking to something that sort of hits a nerve in them, or has something sort of wake up in them. And usually that is something to do with your core message. So whatever that message is to that room full of people is likely really tied closely to your core business message. The other way to think about that is, what is your soapbox? So what's the thing that you could blab on for hours about to your friends or family that you've been about, forever? So in my business, it's always been about freedom and adventure and running your own time and, doing things your way. Instead of anybody else's way. And that's always been there. And it was so close to me that it was almost too obvious. So looking for that thing that feels too easy, that it's like, oh, is that my message? But that's so simple. Like, that just comes so naturally to me. That usually means you're on the right track. Another tip that I like to give people is to fill in the blank. So the best way to blank is to blank. So the first blank is sort of your bigger picture message. So what's that big thing that you believe in? So for a lot of people, it's like live your passions, or follow your dreams, or something really vague and intangible. And then the second blank, so the best way to live your passions is to blank, and that's where you insert your point of view. So that's what you uniquely take a stand for in your business, and that's what's going to set you apart. So your bigger picture message might be the same as everybody else out there. That's totally fine, because it's your angle on it that really makes the difference. So if you can fill in those two blanks, that's a really good starting point for figuring out what your business message is.
Yeah, definitely. So once people then have figured out what their core business message is, what can they do next?
I think they can do everything. So I think that a lot of the trouble with learning all of the marketing steps, so things like list building and creating an opt-in and putting together packages and services and writing the copy on your website, a lot of people struggle with that because they don't have this foundational piece. So once you've got this, all of those other things are just going to feel so much easier. You're going to actually be able to take action. So my best tip is to start with your website. So to start with going through, like combing through the language on your site and making sure that what you're all about is really, really clear. So not just what you do, but leading with that bigger picture message, because it's going to evoke some kind of emotional reaction in your clients, which is what you want. You want the right people to resonate with you for the right reasons. So making sure that your message is apparent in everything that you do is step one, and starting with your website copy is a really great first step for that. And then I think using it to help define what you offer is a next great step. So if you think of that bicycle wheel and you've got your message at the center, there's lots of different things that you could offer that would be in line with your core message. So it helps you weed out all those ideas that don't really fit but seem like good ideas, and helps you get to the core of what you really should be offering.
Yeah, I think that's so true. And I think that I've done that before, where you get bombarded with other opportunities or other ideas, and then you just think everything sounds so exciting and you want to do everything, and then you end up going off on a tangent and you lose sight of what you're really trying to do. And I think that keeping in alignment with that core message, that core purpose, help you to really stay on track. And I just think everything you've talked about is so fundamental. It is the heart and soul of a business, knowing what that core message is. It's like you said, you then can take that core message and use it in everything you do, whether it's utilizing social media platforms and connecting with your audience. It's like, how you can't really connect with your audience if you're not really clear on that core message and what you're trying to give to them, what you're trying to add to their lives. So it is so fundamental, and I think that all of your tips are just so useful in figuring out exactly what your core message is. So thank you so much for sharing them with us.
You're welcome.
If you want to find out more about Rebecca, then head over to theuncagedlife.com. I've put all of her details over on the blog. There is a link there, so definitely go and check it out. But I would also love to hear what you think about this. Is figuring out your core message something that you've struggled with? And if so, what has helped you to overcome it? Head over to the blog and leave a comment, and I will see you next week for another dose of inspiration.